Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to today's session. As you can see the screen, today's session will be quite engaging, and I will try very hard to follow all the questions. So, why are we having this session? I think about 4 weeks ago, I started engaging my LinkedIn audience to see how much we can learn together, to see how much we can share from experiences, and to also support one another on the journey of actualization, on the journey to building the best community, the best environment, the best workplace that talent can have to thrive and to excel in doing their daily job. And today we are moving further. This is the fourth session in the series, and we'll be speaking about the 7 proven strategies for managing difficult conversations at work. Whether it's with a colleague, whether it's with your line manager, we'll be delving into how exactly can we make sure you would have a conversation that will not spiral into enmity or spiral into funny situations at the workplace. And I really hope that it's going to be something that at the end of the day you will be able to learn new things. And then if there are existing difficult conversation you have refused to have in the past, you can then use this model that you'll be learning or some of the things you pick from here to go engage and have that conversation. I'm Okoyemi Shokunbi. Professionally, I've been in tech working for approximately 2 decades. Presently functioning in the role of a Chief Technology Officer at Press One Africa. And I believe that these sessions we'll be having weekly will be practical, will be engaging, and will help you to, as much as possible, improve how you're engaging with humans or talent around you, and also how you are developing your skills in the workplace and in the business life. All right, so last week we closed out on the things we need to do to make our H2 great as we enter into H2 of the year, which is the second half of the year. We spoke about financial discipline and audit strategy, conduct immediate audit of where you are presently to ensure that you are on track, and then you eliminate waste. We spoke about you ensuring that you document all your income and track all the tech subscriptions that you have to eliminate waste where you are not using them properly. We said you need to invest in people, training, technology, and talent. And we also spoke about the 70-20-10 learning model and focusing on long-term return on investment. I know how difficult it is. You want to have the gain on the short term and have traction with what you've imputed into people, but long term is what wins in the game. We spoke about shared leadership and resilience. We said leadership is a shared responsibility. Everyone in the organization must assume a role of leadership. It's not a title, it's not something that is on your JD, it's not something that is on your business card. It's a shared responsibility. We also said that as much as possible, let's ensure that you are not dropping the ball. If the goal is not completed, then everyone needs to come together and achieve it. Don't say, oh, I've done my part and there's nothing more for me to do. There will always be something for you to do. And then embrace ownership, agility, and continuity planning. Also, we spoke about how you can leverage storytelling to manage your branding and strategic communication. We identified at least 3 key stakeholders: your customer, your employee, and then also your investors or other stakeholders if you have. We spoke about how you can leverage AI, that AI is not to eliminate human, it's to complement what you have done. So don't see AI as a silver bullet, something that solves all your problems. No. You work on something, AI helps you optimize it. You have 20 people with AI, might scale to maybe 10, 5, depending on the part of the business or the operation. And then we said embrace strategic adoption with ethical data use. Don't just jump into it. Don't just think that AI solves all the problems. You need to prepare strategically. You need to prepare the data that the AI will feed on, and you probably have a lot of progress. We spoke about execution over inspiration, meaning that ideas need structured execution. It's good for you to ideate, to fantasize, to say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but how do you execute them? What's the system, the structure around your execution? And this is critical. If you don't execute, you will not win. Hope is not a strategy. Execution is what will ensure that you are winning in the marketplace. And lastly, we spoke about tracking performance quarterly and document learnings, so that as much as possible, we are not repeating our mistakes over and over. So we'll move into today's session. The first question I'd love to pose is, does conflict help us to know each other better? So many people differ. But today, we want to delve into the act of how do you manage it? How do you separate the issue from the person from the problem? How do you ensure that as much as possible, things are properly aligned and you move away from repeating the same scenario? If you have had a conflict with one person, you've had with second person, you've had with third person, and they are similar, you need to start asking the question, am I the problem? Because sometimes we want to run away from the responsibility. We want to assume that, no, I'm not the problem, it is someone else that is the problem. So we'll take it one step at a time. Today, we are talking about how to manage conflict with colleagues and line managers. So the first thing is start with the psychological safety. Now, remember that this in itself is already a difficult place, and not everyone is comfortable to bring themselves out of the shell to have this conversation. So you must start thinking about, how can I put the other party in a comfortable place? Even myself, how do I put myself in a comfortable place? You can imagine the scenario, for example, the venue or the settings of that conflict. I would imagine that you don't want to have the conversation there. You might want to have it in a different place. So let's move on to things we need to do. Today, I will mix it up with some of the things I believe we should do, and then what the wise ones or data or research is also saying as to how we should handle the issue. So the first thing is create an environment where people feel safe to speak up without fear or retribution. This is very, very important, because there are times that people speaking up might mean that their career is then detriment. It might mean that as they speak up, then they have to start looking for another job. No, you need to create that environment where people will speak up and nothing negative will thrive in the workplace. Nothing negatively impacting, nothing damaging to people's emotion, mental health will thrive in the workplace. People will be confident, people will be engaged, people will be happy, people will be excited to speak up and say their mind as to whatever is happening around them. So please create that environment in your organization and your workplaces. And when you want to have this conversation with your colleague or your line manager, then ensure when that environment exists that you are then going to find the right place, the right venue for that conversation to happen. Now, the next thing is you have to begin with empathy and openness. So you are listening. Now, you need to understand that as much as possible, like I said, this is a difficult thing for anyone to own up to or to speak about a vulnerable part of themselves. So you need to empathize and be very open. You must lead by example to ensure that the other party can then own up and speak freely, and then you both be able to have a smooth engagement or a smooth journey. Remember that this first phase is critical and is important. If it is not done properly, then the conversation might go sideways, or the conversation might not go as you think or you intend. Now, you need to use calm, non-judgmental language to reduce emotional threat. This is critical. This is critical. I'll repeat again, this is already a non-convenient place for anyone to be. So if you want to have this conversation, the tone of your voice needs to be calm, modulated, not in a tone that even if it seems like you can be agitated, angry, or loud when you speak. No, you'll be relaxed. If you think that your tone is a bit, going up, breathe in and breathe out. Just do that short exercise of breathing, in, and you breathe out. And then you get yourself back. You can do that thrice, and then it gives you a balance. It's more or less create like a chemistry in your body that everything just reconnects together again. All right, so data says, according to Harvard Business Review, 69% of managers says they are uncomfortable communicating with employees. Why do you think they are uncomfortable? These are some of the reasons. It could be the environment, it could be the tone, it could be the engagement around handling feedbacks and conversations in the workplace between line manager and their team members. And this is a skill you have to develop over and over, because you will definitely get into conflict with people. Wisdom, this is an Akan proverb. Wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it. Wisdom is endless, and we need to learn from one another. Sometimes also you need to probably check in to understand the context of that engagement. I would also say, in some cases, if you understand the other party very well, maybe you know the temperament of the person is choleric, the person might sometimes not own up, the person is, a strong, personality, you will try to probably do a bit of research to understand and have more context about how to deal with those kind of personality. So number 2, prepare. Don't wing it. Sometimes we think that we've got things covered without doing our basic research. Sometimes we think we've got things covered without thinking through the processes we'll follow to ensure that it's holistic, it's engaging, and it's not a defensive conversation. So please, you need to prepare. What do you need to do to prepare? You need to clarify your intention. What is the bottom line of that conversation? What do you want to achieve? When you leave that conversation, at the end of it, what is your goal? Clarify your intention. Now use fact, not assumption. And don't blame the other party. Don't say, oh, it is your fault. You started it. Oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. No, don't blame the other party. Use fact and not assumption. Don't come in and assume, because this person has done this with A, and I think he has tried it with me. This is why this person is doing it. No. Don't assume. Come with facts and don't blame. Now, one of the things you need to understand is that depending on how intense and how connected you are to the issue, you might need to rehearse with a neutral party if possible. So if you have a colleague, it could be your spouse at home, it could be a friend, try to run the conversation through with them and see exactly how it's going and how it might land. So please be clear about your intention right from the beginning. Use facts, avoid blaming, and then rehearse with a neutral party if possible. All right, the CCP Global Human Capital Report states that employees spend 2.8 hours per week dealing with conflicts. Employees spend 2.8 hours per week dealing with conflicts. Now we use 30 to 40 hours per week at the workplace. So this is almost close to between 7 to 9% of the time that employees use. In some cases, almost 10% of the time we use per week to deal with conflict. So this is a critical and important issue. Now, someone says that rain does not fall on one roof alone. Remember that this issue might look like, it's happening to you today. It will be someone else tomorrow. This issue might be happening to you at the early part of your career. What happens when you grow up and you become a senior leader and you become a very critical, important personality? If you have not been able to manage conflict at this point in time, when you get there at that point in time, I can tell you confidently that it might not bode well. And this is why it's really critical. Number 3, use the SBI framework. The situation, the behavior, and the impact. This is important. As much as you can, describe the situation. Be specific about when and where. Highlight the behavior, focus on actions, not personality, and explain the impact, how it affects the team, task, or outcomes. So I'm going to give a very practical example here so that we understand how critical this is. So back in my early days, in my early 1 year or 2 years on the job, I had a terrible outage. It was a business application used by a critical part of the business, and there was some bit of data not being restored after the critical failure. Now, I had tried everything possible, engaged at every level, beyond the country to the region, and then even outside the region to the zone. But this issue did not abate. I couldn't resolve it. In the spirit of being open, I copied all the emails, correspondence, and everything I've done. I sent it to my customer to say that, look at the effort I am making. Please understand that I need a bit of more time, and I'm doing everything possible to resolve the issue. Guess what happened? I was thrown not under the bus, under the train, under the plane. I was thrown everywhere because my customer copied that email and sent it to not my line manager, to the boss of my boss. And he wrote, please help us. The Nigerian team cannot solve the issue. Oh my. So when I got the wind of what has happened, I was sad. Apparently, I'd felt that being open was good enough. My customer will understand that I'm making effort and I'm doing everything possible within the scope of my power and my knowledge and experience. Unfortunately, that was not to be. Now, what I really want to emphasize here is that when you get into this kind of situation, you then get bitter, you get unhappy. When you see some of those your colleagues, you're having, negative thoughts towards them. You are not happy to have them around you. And this you need to really understand. When people hear or do things that you think is out of line, sometimes they don't even know. And this is why you don't need to keep it all to yourself and not deal with the issue. You need to bring it to the front and deal with the issue, because sometimes it makes us sentimental. It makes us deal with other people and say, oh, that person is from this tribe, so this person also is from this tribe. This is the way I would deal with them. No, humans are different. And when we go further, you will understand how to ensure that you are not putting, A and B together, or comparing, Mr. A and Mr. B. You have to separate the issue. And, just to summarize, when I approached this person and I spoke to the person, when it happened, where it happened, how it affected, my own actions towards the person, guess what would happen? The person couldn't even remember the issue again. And this is where it's critical and important for you to not let it linger. Deal with it as fast as possible and as soon as you can. Once again, I go through, describe the situation, be specific about when and where. Highlight the behavior, focus on actions, not personality. Don't attack people. Explain the impact, how it affects the team, task, or outcomes. Will it stop you from trusting your team members going forward? Will it stop you from ensuring that you close your task as fast as possible? Will it stop you from even making honest mistakes? What will be the outcome? What do you think? If you are the line manager, also take time to break down the impact also, because as a line manager, the impact of a team member is not just on that team member and yourself. No, it spreads across the team. And if there is a behavior you think is not acceptable in the team, don't, just watch someone get away or do anything around it, undermining the process, undermining the system and the standard you have set in terms of behavior and interaction within the team. All right. So Gallup reports that only 28% of employees strongly agree that feedback helps them do better work. So as much as possible, if you don't even give this feedback in the first place, then this employee or your team member we are speaking about will not even be part of that 26%. A man who uses force is afraid of reasoning. I could remember the year that people said, don't grieve for anybody. Please, as much as possible, it's not about force. You need to reason with everyone around you and ensure that you have an alignment as to the best practice and as to the best way you can work together and be great as a team or as a collective, not as an individual. The elders will also say that a tree does not make a forest, right? So number 4, this is critical. This is at the center of resolving this conflict. Separate people from the problem. Don't say that is how you always do. No. What is the problem you want to deal with? Who is the person? Don't touch that personality. Don't touch that person. Focus on the problem. One other thing you need to understand is that while you are at it, you need to approach the issue as a mutual problem to solve. Don't think of it like it is that person's problem. No, it is a collective. It is our problem. It's our issue. And if we try to, just single the person out, or like I said earlier, throw the person under the bus, the issue or the problem will not be solved, and it will be there with you. Now, you can use languages, or you should use languages like our, we, and all that. How can we move forward? How do you think this is impacting us as a team? So don't make it look like it's a personal issue between you and the person. No, nothing is personal. In the first place, you don't know each other before you go to the workplace. And this is really important. You don't know each other until you go to the workplace, except if you are spouses. And in some cases, even spouses don't know each other from day one, except if you've gotten married before you then became colleagues. So you need to understand that as much as possible, you are not at that workplace to have conflict or to make life difficult for anyone. If people say to you that you are a difficult person, please take time. Do not look at yourself and say, why am I a difficult person? No. You need to ask questions such as, what about me is difficult? Don't say things like, why am I a difficult person? No, you are not, you as a person is not what is under context here. It is your behavior and your competency, your mannerism that we are dealing with, and you need to separate the two. So you ask questions such as, what about me is difficult? Is it the way I speak? Is it the way I dress? Is it the way I walk? What about me is difficult? And this is where you need to start getting to the issue or the problem and not focusing on your person or try to label yourself. So avoid labeling or judging the person. This is critical. If you've had this issue with someone, you have dealt with it. If the person is then having another issue with someone else, don't say generally that's how he or she behaves. No, that is labeling, that is judging. Because in the real sense of things, every issue is different, or they are different from one another. So you can't put them together and plug them and say, oh, that's how the person behaves. No, that is labeling and that is judgmental. Please avoid it. Let us understand that our goal is to resolve the issue or the problem and not to attack the personality of the individuals involved. All right, MIT Sloan research shows leaders who handle conflict well have teams that outperform others by up to 30%. So if there are even conflicts between team members in your team, don't look at them from afar and say, that is their issue, that is their problem. No, it is your responsibility as a leader to ensure that you step in and you guide the process through and resolve that conflict. You de-escalate the issue and make sure that the team work together. Because if these people don't agree, they don't see eye to eye, it is a team's output that will suffer, and this is really important. Now, an African proverb says, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot hurt you. And this is really important. It's important because if two people in your team don't get along, or you and your team member don't get along, the day there will be a need for the weakest link to be more or less taken advantage of, either of you will give way. and that will become a disadvantage for a strong team, a team that watches out for each other. All right, number 5, use empathic listening. Now, one of the first things I want us to really understand is that we need to listen to understand, not to respond. I don't know what has happened to our generation, but in recent time has shown that sometimes when you are talking to people, all they just want to do is to be smart in responding. No, please don't be smart in responding when you are dealing with a difficult issue or a difficult conversation. All you have to do is forget all that is in your thoughts and listen to understand the person. In fact, when you don't understand, you can ask the person that, is this what you mean? Or this is what I am hearing, so that as much as possible, there's alignment as what is being said and what is received. And there's no assumption. You are not leaving the meeting saying, oh, can you imagine? This was what so person said about me. No, you are leaving the meeting having understood the person because you are empathetic with your listening. You are focused on that person. You are not thinking about, oh, how should I respond to this person? No, that's not important. Now, mirror emotions and rephrase what you heard. Be calm as much as possible. You do not need to say, oh, that is irresponsible, that is unacceptable, that is this, that is that. No, you don't need that. What you need to do is to ensure that you are calm, you rephrase what you've heard, and you try to connect with what the person wants to say. Now, validate their feeling, even if you disagree with their point. Someone will not come to you and say, you have hurt me by saying ABC. And then your next response is, I take exception to that. You need to retract that statement. You need to withdraw that. You are not in the law courts. Your goal is, as a team and as an individual, how can we work better? First of all, you can accept by saying to the person, okay, I hear you and understand your position. And this was what was intended, but this is what I had intended by what transpired. So that as much as possible, you are not gaslighting the entire conversation. You are not making things much more complex than where you started from. Now, the Global Human Resource Body, SHRM, reports that 72% of employees rank respectful treatment as a top driver of engagement. There is nobody, I've never seen the person, even a baby, even a child, everyone wants to be respected. Everyone wants to be placed on a pedestal that, oh, I am taken serious and I am human. Someone, is validating my feeling. Someone trusts me. Someone listens to me when I speak. Not just, say whatever you want to say for documentation purpose. Please note, this is not the intention of dealing with difficult conversation. The intention is not just to write down, take notes, send email after the conversation. No, the intention is to genuinely ensure that we repair bridges, make our relationship more solid, and then help ourselves to grow together as team members and as partners in progress. It's not for documentation purpose. An Ethiopian proverb says, he who learns teaches. He who learns teaches. Note that as much as possible, we are going to gather experience along the way of life. As we gather this experience, we're able to teach it onto the younger generation, onto our junior colleagues, onto our younger ones at home, and this will add value to us as a whole. All right, so set boundaries and agreements. What are we going to be doing going forward? Since we've had issues, what are going under the bridge, what are we going to do going forward, and how do we work best going forward? What do you like, what don't you like? How do you receive feedback? When do you want the feedback to be said? Or you don't want it when there is a group of people, you are in an open office and you're already saying to someone, I don't like this thing about you, I don't like that thing about you, I have told you 10 times, this is the 15th time. No. Set boundaries and agreements. Know how people receive some of this feedback. So after you've had the conversation, it's smooth, everything has been going on so far, you've been checking the list, check. Agree on the next steps and responsibilities if there is need for anything. Set timelines, expectations, and accountability points. Then document agreements if needed for clarity. Remember, I have hinted it earlier that this is not just for documentation purpose. So don't run to this and say, oh, we have documented it. I have told her my peace of mind. I have told him my peace. No. That's not what is intended. All right. According to McKinsey, emotional intelligence is one of the top 3 future of work skills. And this is really, really critical. You must be able to navigate how others will receive whatever comes from you. You must be able to process, even before you say it, how do you think the other party will receive it? And when you have done your bit of ensuring you filter what you do, what you say, how you go about your mannerism, you then need to manage what comes in the way from other people. Know that you cannot control everyone. What you can control is yourself. So when someone then comes to you, speaks to you in an inappropriate manner, steps on your toe, literally, do things that you think is out of boundary or out of professionalism, you then need to ensure that your emotional intelligence gear needs to set in. If it doesn't set in, you will not be a great colleague, you will not be a great leader. And emotional intelligence does not mean you should take, in quote, rubbish or accept nonsense from people. No. What it simply means is that you are able to manage all the situation, all the conversation, and then you can redress them appropriately and as when necessary from time to time. All right. The Bantu proverb says you learn how to cut trees down by cutting them down. So you don't learn to be better at having this difficult conversation by theoretizing or by sending emails or by, no. You actually get better by having this conversation. You will always have conflict, whether you like it or not. So don't run away from it. Don't, say, oh, I don't want to offend this. I don't want to offend that. All right. Last but not the least is follow up and rebuild trusts. Check in after the conversation to reinforce progress. Am I doing better? Do you like how I'm speaking? Are there things you still want me to improve on? What can I do differently? It doesn't have to be something that you jump at people randomly. No. Make sure it's at a time when they are relaxed, they are calm, or you set a time. You book their calendar, you have a meeting, and then you sit down and have those sessions. Now, acknowledge improvement and effort. When people are doing things that, say, for example, they've improved in the feedback you've given them, please acknowledge it. Don't just throw it by the side. Don't make it look like, like some people will say, when they dress well, you don't say they are dressing well or they look beautiful. But when they've not dressed well or they are not looking beautiful, that's when you say, no, don't wear that one. Don't wear that one. No. Please learn to acknowledge good things, learn to acknowledge improvement, learn to acknowledge when people are doing the right things. Use conflict as a springboard for strong collaboration. So this piggybacks to the first question I asked earlier, to say that, do we get to know each other better after a conflict? Let conflicts be a springboard for stronger collaboration. Some African adage says that you only know people better when you offend them, because you see the other side, and by seeing the other side, you know what to do not to see those other sides again. So please learn to understand that conflict should not mar relationship. It should rather strengthen it. It should rather be a glue that helps you understand where to function, where not to go, what to say, what not to say. All right. So as we wrap up, the Forbes study shows that teams with open communication perform 25% better on average. And a popular African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You need people. You are brilliant, you have a great idea, you have concepts, you have all that. Without people, you can't achieve anything. And this is where you need to understand that how much you improve in working with people, engaging with people, is critical to how much you progress or how much you will be able to transform your own life goals and journey and achieve your own objective also as a person. Please note, these goals are well intended, or these steps are well intended, and it shouldn't be used to manipulate people. Please note, it's important, because sometimes as human, we just tend to go on a path where we just want to ensure that everyone sees us on a different light than what we intend. No, be very open, be very honest, have this conversation, and ensure it is what it is. You are not saying A to the person, and behind the person you are saying B. This is important and critical. All right, so thank you for joining me today. I've gone through the steps: managing difficult conversation at work. Start with the psychological safety, ensure the environment is right before you go into the conversation. Start with prepare, don't wing it. It's important. What is the intention of that conversation? What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? Plan for it, prepare for it. Don't just wing it and go into the conversation and then it ends anyhow. Use the SBI framework. What is the situation? When did it happen and where did it happen? What is the impact of that situation on the people? What kind of behavior was exhibited that you don't like? Follow through the SBI framework. Now separate people from the problem. This is important. Don't focus on the personality, don't focus on the individual, focus on the issue. Focus on what was spoken, what was done, how it was done, but not that, this person is from this tribe, that's how they behave in their tribe. No. That is unacceptable. Everyone is different. So focus on the problem and not the person or the people. Now use empathic listening. What I mean, and I will say over and over, is don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. Understand the person, and then you try as much as possible to go one step at the other to then confirm what was said, what you've heard, and what you think the person is saying. Immediately the two of them aligns, you continue the conversation. Set boundaries and agreements. What don't you like, what do you like, and things that should happen in the workplace. So feedback, don't give me feedback. Several people, this is how I love to receive my feedback. It's awesome, it's great. And then follow up and rebuild trust. So this is also very important. Ensure that when people improve on the feedback you have given them or whatever they have done, whether they are a colleague, your line manager, or your direct report, please give them the feedback. Oh, this is awesome. You have done this today. Thank you very much. I observed in the past quarter, this and this did not happen. Thank you for, trusting me. Thank you for being my team member. I hold you in high esteem. Give people feedback. It's really critical and it's important, and it will help to build trust. Remember also that where you have met that person is not where that person will be all the rest of their life. Life is in phases. And if someone features in phase 1 of your life, they might be necessary and an important component in phase 4 or phase 3 or phase 5. But if you burn the bridge in phase 1, who will you call on in phase 3, phase 4, or phase 5? This is critical. Thank you for joining me. I'm grateful for having you listen to my thoughts for the past few minutes. I hope it's added value to you. So the references are there, obviously, so that, if you want to do further research, you want to learn more, you want to read more, you can screen grab or take that information, and then you'll be able to research or learn more about the concept of how to manage difficult conversation. If you also want to be part of the conversation, part of the chat, I'm happy to have you join the live broadcast. I'm happy to have you, join. Please feel free to drop, in the comments section. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, that's my handle. Opeshokunbi. On LinkedIn, Opeshokunbi, you can connect with me. And on X, Opeshokunbi. It's been a pleasure to be your host this afternoon, morning, evening, depending on the part of the world where you are. I'd always love to help in any form. So if you have questions that I did not touch, or you want to discuss this further, please feel free to contact me, send me a message. I'll be glad to be of help in any form that I can be. Thank you for joining. See you some other time, and have a wonderful rest of the week.